join us this afternoon. My name is Jillian Murphy. I'm the event planner here at Scale Computing. Today, I am joined by Reed Smith, Systems Engineer at Scale Computing, and Chris Reed, President of Verus Technology Solutions. They're here to discuss how to streamline your business resiliency plan. A few things to note: there is a Q&A box at the bottom right-hand of your window. Please use that to submit any questions you have during the event, and Reed and Chris will get those answered for you. Also, this event is being recorded, and we will send that out after the presentation. That being said, I'm going to pass it over to Chris to get us started.
Great. Thank you, Jillian. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Chris Reed. My company is Verus Technology Solutions, and we're based in the San Francisco Bay Area, though we service clients in Southern California as well. And today we want to give this presentation in coordination with our friends and close partners at Scale Computing to talk about a topic that I think is particularly relevant, particularly in the current business environment that we're all in, where there's been a lot of change in the last 6 months. And I think that Scale's technology is really more appropriate than ever in terms of those challenges that we're trying to meet. So I just wanted to give you a couple minutes worth of background on my firm. So we were founded in 2001, almost 20 years old. Overall, we seek to provide IT support for small to medium-sized businesses, and that's everywhere from help desk kind of services all the way through strategic technology initiatives. We do that primarily through a fixed-priced IC service plan that we call Total Care, and that's priced on a fixed price per user basis. And we also work on an extensive set of IT projects for organizations as well. And we do a lot of that through key vendor relationships, a couple that you see here on the screen. We do a lot of work with Microsoft Technologies. We're a Cisco and Dell and HP partner. In the space of disaster recovery, we do a lot of work with Veeam. And then in the hyperconverged space, of course, do a lot of work with Scale Computing. And then separately, we do also do custom business software development. So we have two core teams that provide our technology services. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. So again, we're proud to be partnered with Scale Computing for hyperconverged infrastructure, and that's we're going to be talking about that today in terms of the some of the ways that their platform can be used to address different business challenges. And again, I think particularly appropriate in the changing environment that we find ourselves in. In particular, we're going to be talking today about both disaster recovery and potentially more importantly, remote work, and how Scale Technology can address some of these challenges that we've all had to face in the last 6 months as so much work has moved to a remote environment. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Reed Smith, who's going to give the bulk of the presentation, and then Reed and I both will be able to answer questions that you all have at the end of the presentation. So over to Reed.
Thanks a lot, Christopher. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. My name is Reed Smith. I'm a systems engineer here at Scale Computing. I've been with Scale for about 7 years now, and formerly spent a good portion of my time on our support team here internally as well. But enough background information on me. Chris, thank you very much for that sort of high-level overview of Verus. Now, to sort of give you some information about Scale Computing. We're founded in 2008 in San Francisco. Basically, one of our key founders out there started it up, and from there we moved sort of our sales headquarters to Indianapolis, Indiana, where we basically run all of our sales and support out of 24/7, 365. Scale Computing, having been around and sort of launched hyperconvergence in 2012 via the Tanaja Group's report, has over 24 patents on our technology and over thousands of customers. And you can see we have over 495 case studies and climbing on Tech Validate, and are one of the highest reviewed hyperconvergence platforms on the market. Conversely, we also have many different technology partners that we work through to allow for a top-to-bottom solution in terms of hyperconvergence and your overall infrastructure. And we are also highly awarded as well, but I don't need to beat a dead horse for that lack of matter. So mainly we've come today to talk about really sort of referencing this quote from Gartner in relation to business resilience, and that CIOs have moved into emergency cost optimization. basically meaning that all investments will have to be minimized on operations that keep the business running, but prioritize on operations that keep the business running. Which is basically saying, now more than ever when money is tight, we need to make sure that it keeps, it goes to where it is needed. And unfortunately, most IT budgets are hard enough to come by. So now we have to make the prime case that that's where the money should go. Obviously, most of this has been in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, where we've seen sort of it break into three separate separate segments. First being infrastructure reactivity, or as I like to call it, the hair on fire moment. Basically the mass purchase of hardware at the end user level to really facilitate a work from home environment. However, that because it was the hair on fire and done so hastily, it left quite a bit of gaps in some of those areas in particular. The second stage here, business resiliency, is what we're all here to talk about today, with the complete VDI implementation that really allows that work from home basically setting to be accomplished. And then importantly as well, the data security against cyber threats that we've obviously seen skyrocket since end users have moved from a centralized, sort of private locale where, we can live behind a monitored network from your IT admin to that home network that's now a little bit less secure, and thus, opening you up for a few more cyber attacks in that regard. And then the operational innovation is where we're sort of moving forward as an industry and integrating, all of these solutions together to allow for, streamlined operations. And then most importantly, for the quote prior, to make sure that they're cost-effective solutions so that you can do the most with the budget you're allotted and sort of keep the business moving properly. But so what exactly does business resiliency mean? It's sort of it's been used before in terminology, but it's more on the upcoming now. Business resilience is a combination of proactive and reactive planning for an organization to mitigate and adapt quickly and effectively to threats and disruptions affecting the operation and success of the organization. Ultimately meaning that you or your IT team creates a plan that allows for the least amount of interruptions to your business and really maximizes or optimizes your uptime. Now that includes all different encompassing traditional technologies, but more and more we're starting to see that they really all need to be implemented in one together. But what we most importantly feel are the technologies important to the business resilience aspect are these four pillars. The hyperconverged infrastructure, which I'm here today to talk to you about, is highly available and scalable. Scalable kind of being some of the operative term there, because it's important as your business grows in the work from home model that you're easily able to add whatever resources needed and at the click of a button and easy to manage. The virtual desktop infrastructure, virtual being the key point there, allowing for end users to work remotely and easily, because it's hard enough to troubleshoot with end users remotely these days, but then also the underlying important piece being that it pairs well and integrates natively with your existing infrastructure and networking. And then the last two pieces, the ransomware protection has become more and more important these days, just because of having those end users at home and having to worry about those phishing attacks or day zero activity or day zero viruses that have been hitting some systems as of late, and that is an important aspect to keep in mind and sort of implement moving forward. And then the backup with the VR and the cloud. Protecting that data is sort of the utmost importance, given that the cybersecurity has an important piece to play. You need to have somewhere to put that information, and that backup and disaster recovery is extremely important for that. So in terms of the business resilience, these are the capabilities was sort of mentioned prior, where the cybersecurity really is sort of having been key lately, just to make sure that you're protecting all of the networks and sort of locking down and not allowing for those outside vulnerabilities to permeate your network. The scalability piece is that quick growth and that high availability and sort of machine learning that we have implemented to scale to allow for basically your infrastructure to learn and heal itself when it can to minimize your IT team's, interference with the infrastructure and basically keep the business moving and work on applications and continue to move and grow the business. Now, some common misconceptions we've seen about business resilience sort of in the past and even today is that, hey, I already have disaster recovery plans in place. Well, disaster recovery plans of 2018 need to look a lot different from disaster recovery plans in 2020. Now, I mean, you could even say in the first half of 2020, they need to look different than they do now. So it's important that we take any and all considerations for that fact. And disasters can come at any point in time and really impact businesses in a flurry of different ways. So it's important to be as protected as possible. The second sort of quote here about not having time for business resilience has sort of had to be a foregone concept here, because if your business is not running, you are losing money, and losing money in 2020 means people out of jobs and things that are very, very important to sort of maintain and keep afloat. And then the conception, like I already mentioned, about the employees working remotely on the laptops with the VPN. That VPN, may be existing and stable in your current environment, but that doesn't stop your end users from exploiting or accidentally invoking vulnerabilities that you may never have heard of. And it definitely doesn't stop, somebody accidentally clicking on some phishing email scam as well. So important to sort of keep all of those in mind. But the first piece to touch on is the hyperconvergence aspect, and really what we're doing here at Scale is this definition. It's a little bit different than some of the other definitions by our competitors because we are integrating basically the servers, the storage, and the hypervisor component and the compute component all into one appliance. Unlike some of our competition, that's not always the case. And because we've built all of these into each other, it's that sort of perpetuates the machine learning and high availability aspect as well. Now, on the left is the traditional way of virtualization, which is pretty much convoluted and complicated, requiring many different areas of expertise and management to just get through a standard business day. Whereas on the right-hand side is what you'd be seeing with the Scale computing cluster. It does all of the same things the virtualization platform of old used to do, but better. Currently just being able to access and manage your system from the web-based browser, and having integrated backup and replication and that seamless scale out of essentially adding whichever node or piece of equipment that you need to basically right size your environment for whatever growth you may be experiencing. It's all natively integrated to the system, and it comes at no additional cost to the end user in terms of licensing or things of that nature. And so you might ask what can run on this hyperconverged platform by comparison to, say, my all physical platform or standard virtualization ways. And the answer is basically anything that runs on x86. So we have thousands of customers at Scale that run on many different applications, be it ERP systems, SQL databases, VoIP phone systems as well. So anything that you would have been able to do in the traditional workload can move into the future here with hyperconvergence. As a whole, Scale and HC3, our hyperconverged platform, really embodies these four pillars. Really, first and foremost, the simplicity aspect being that it's easy to manage, being you can log into a web browser and manage your entire cluster with 3 clicks or less. Just to complete just about any action. It deploys in less than an hour. I think my record is about 27 minutes from my time on the support team. And all of the resources come pre-configured, so you don't really have to go through all of the troubleshooting, iSCSI LUNs and things of that nature to make sure that storage and data gets placed appropriately. And then the availability piece, having built in the sort of machine learning and AI into Scale that basically monitors thousands of different conditions, allow for us to ensure that any problems that do pop up the system will correct for you, oftentimes without really needing to invoke any type of interaction. But it also lets you know if there are any outstanding issues that you need to address. And with built-in backup and disaster recovery and replication into the product, it is quite a solid solution in terms of keeping availability at the forefront. Scalability I don't need to necessarily hit on, but it is important to know that you can scale in scale computing from a single node all the way up to a fully nested cluster, and that is a seamless scale out. It's as simple as calling a support tech, and we'll basically walk you through a couple commands, and in about 10 minutes your resources will be directly added to the scale cluster. And actually from there, that policy of scaling out is actually a mix and match policy as well, because we've essentially written our code to be backwards compatible. You can mix and match based on whichever resources are required of you. So if you need something that's more storage focused or RAM focused, perfectly fine. It can be larger or smaller than the nodes in your current cluster, just as long as we're addressing whichever needs you need to be addressed. That's the important piece to us. And then lastly, the most important piece, some might say, is the affordability of scale. Because we own the complete stack, being that we patented our hypervisor and included at no additional cost, that really saves customers a lot on the licensing of, say your virtualization platforms as well. And because we own the hypervisor, we sort of get to set our costs, and we don't pass that along to our end users at all. So oftentimes making us the most affordable hyperconvergence vendor in the space as well. And so the legacy working from home is really sort of what we hope to address here at Scale, because for a few years now we've been working with partners in the VDI space. These laptops and tablets that you used to have to check out to take home on work days and things of that nature are sort of foregone, and the VPN for remote users is nice, but it still extends that corporate network and makes it less secure because it hooks into your home network, if you will. And because we've partnered with LeoStream, they are really a fantastic vendor for us in VDI because they allow for simple rollout, oftentimes less than an hour to deploy, really only utilizing 2 virtual machines, one of which is optional, but mainly running entirely through that connection broker piece that then allows you to choose your device on how you want to access your VDI environment. I can see we've had sort of internal competitions at Scale to see who can get LeoStream running on what crazy of a device, and I've seen it on smart fridges and Peloton bicycles. So really allowing you to sort of bring and use your devices that some may have not accessed or seen since before March, when all of COVID has hit. And you can actually utilize those devices inside of your office and sort of move to the secondary portion where the second virtual machine that we utilize, the gateway, will basically act as an access point for you to utilize either an HTML5 browser or the actual physical gear on site to then handle all the processing power and connect for your virtual desktop infrastructure. And basically connected securely. It is GDPR compliant, and none of your data leaves the corporate infrastructure at all. This also has an interesting quote here from Thomas Reuters, in that ransomware attack jumped 148% in March from the previous months. Just inherently, it is a lot easier to hack someone on a local network without, a firewall or all of the advanced securities involved, as opposed to, sitting behind a corporate environment. And that's an important part because we have our partnership with Acronis, who, has had access to our APIs over many years here and allow for ransomware protection. Now, this is active on all machines that you have, your agent installed in. This is machine learning based, so it's constantly monitoring the blocks of data that you're working with and basically learning that, hey, on my SQL drive, this file has never been encrypted. Why does it start encrypting now? And then it notifies you and lets you decide what you'd like to do. You can either kill the machine off immediately and restore from a previous backup, it can kill off the specific application that is trying to make the attack on your system, or it can actually revert and promote the machine to, say an off-site location if you need to work on your recovery from that standpoint as well. All the while providing, great solution for archival backup and rapid recovery in line. And basically you can then send your third-party backups or backups from Acronis on scale to anywhere and everywhere that you would wish, whether it be, a local tape drive, or a cloud piece, or excuse me, an external or third-party cloud operation. But that's not necessarily to mention that the built-in disaster recovery that we have at scale, where we can essentially replicate from a cluster to cluster method or a cluster to a single node method, where we don't charge any additional licensing fees or anything of that nature, or we do seamless agentless backups within as well. And really just allows you to tier your disaster recovery strategy to whatever your business model might denote. This also is facilitated by scale on our hybrid sort of cloud platform, where we have, on the left-hand side a scale computing cluster, where then you get to choose however you'd like to make that migration to cloud. We have our native built-in replication with Google Cloud Platform. They came to us about 4 years ago, and we were the first to market with a disaster recovery as a service model, which is a great product as well. And we also have integrations with Azure and AWS through that translation layer of Acronis as well, where you can basically send any backup solution or any target with that backup solution. And so here, the business resilience is really accomplished through basically all of these bullet points. Most importantly to me is fitting any size deployment from edge, small plays, all the way up to data center or massive businesses. As you'll see, scale much like Chris and the Verus team, we specialize in small, medium-sized business, but that doesn't stop us from going all the way up to the enterprise class as well. And then another sort of important piece for us here is the 24/7, 365 in-house scale care support. So not only do we support our end users well, we support our partners as well. And because we are 24/7 by 365, all out of here locally in Indianapolis, Indiana. We hire tier 2 support agents and oftentimes don't let them get on phones with customers until they've gone through 6 months of sitting, riding back seat with others. So really, and are probably one of the most highly rated support organizations in the industry, given that our average NPS score ranges from about 85 to 92. And the differentiators between scale and the competition is really going to be that radically simplified IT. Just the ease of use and management piece doesn't necessarily require you to go through classes or weeks of classes that teach you how to run the system. Oftentimes, we have videos out there of 4-year-olds from Forbes that are able to build virtual machines in 3 clicks or less. So really, that simplicity allows us to be accessible by any and all users. So that's kind of a really key piece to this there. And the fact that we are a completely integrated platform that doesn't require you to have a third-party software to learn to manage all of your resources is a huge boost for us. And lastly, that affordability piece comes through in having efficient resource usage and the no software licensing for virtualization layer is key. And then the affordability piece on that resource usage, just given that scale only needs about 1 to 4 gigs of RAM per host and a fraction of a core per hypervisor to run and manage all of your infrastructure. By comparison to some of our competition, we see large swaths of gigabytes of RAM and cores allocated just to run the storage layer. So because we are more efficient with the resources, that affordability is passed on to our end users in that way. And like I mentioned before, we are one of the highest rated, if not the highest rated hyperconvergence platform with a 5 stars on Gartner Peer Insights. These are really sort of speak for themselves in that Scale is a very customer forward platform. We're always thinking about the customer experience and how to make it or improve it day to day. And even so now, more importantly than ever in our post-COVID-19 world, we're trying to make it as efficient as possible as well to make that money go a lot longer than it would have in the traditional model. And like I said, Scale is serving companies that are more in the enterprise space now more than ever. However, our traditional, basically bread and butter model will be companies like this that have a little bit, maybe not as much notoriety, but all the same validity, just in that they, service a more specific customer base and are usually not necessarily have all the resources that some of those enterprise level customers do, but still need that same functionality and feature set. And that's what we're here to provide at Scale. And then to cover the support, I think I've already done a pretty good job of that, but the US-based support and the premium services that we offer really allow for a great customer experience from the time that you engage with our sales team to the time that you become a customer and after. We're just trying to ensure that we do the best ever for our end users at all points in time. And these are, everybody likes to tout awards where I like to highlight them for sure. But most importantly, I believe are the left two here, our CRN awards, which recently, we entered in last year for the first time in 2019. And we actually unseated Dell, EMC, and HP and VMware, who had traditionally run that market for the last 10 years. So those are our two, really important categories to me, and especially to repeat in 2020, winning the same, hyperconvergence platform and then the newly created edge deployment platform also, means a great deal to us because, we are sort of shaking up what has been a decade-long standard of, the Dell EMC VMware platform and really providing an excellent experience for end users and partners alike, Chris as well. So. And then this is just sort of an idea of what our offerings are like for some of you that may have never heard of Scale before. So our edge platforms on the left-hand side are usually more designed for remote offices or branch offices. However, it is also designed for customers that may or may not necessarily need all of the enterprise level hardware, given that those HE150s are, small based on the Intel NUC platforms. They're 4 inches by 4 inches by 1.5 inches tall. So really thin and lightweight clients there, all the way up to our HC1000, or what we call the FOG. That's really our sort of bread and butter. And then the core business moving on into that enterprise grade chassis where the 3250s are all NVMe flash drive systems that are some of the most performant systems that we have to date. And the 5250s being that tiered models that combine both nearline SAS and spinning disk to allow, for longer form storage footprint, but paired with SSD to really give you performance boost as necessary. And then the cloud component that I had mentioned earlier. And I think that's about it right now. I think this is a good time for us to take any questions and answers. I apologize while I was talking there. I didn't really get a chance to see the Q&A box, but Chris, did you happen to see anything or?
I thought maybe Dan was going to be monitoring the Q&A box. I wasn't doing that myself.
Hey guys.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Chris and Reed. Great job. Thanks for that overview. We did have a couple questions come in, but just wanted to also mention to the others that we do have a couple of giveaways, so don't be shy and ask questions in that Q&A box. So I'll just fire off the few that we have, and then Chris, I'll kick it back over to you. So Reed, somebody mentioned that they do like the idea of removing the VMware tax from their budget. However, they're fully deployed with VMware. What does that migration look like from Scale or from VMware to Scale?
Yeah, so that migration is seamless. We have a software we offer called HC3 Move. It's powered by Carbonite and does a live, basically migration of the virtual machine in real time with, a less than 2-minute downtime associated, and oftentimes it brings the machine back up exactly as it was on the VMware site. So again, it's extremely easy to use and straightforward.
Yeah, and that's great.
Nice.
I can speak to that just a minute myself as well. We have utilized that tool for our clients that have been moving from VMware vSphere infrastructure to Scale, and it is as Reed indicates a seamless, very smooth transition.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Sounds very, very simple. So again, Reed, with this one, with the Scale solutions, backup and DR are separate licensing costs.
No, we include the backup and disaster recovery functionalities within Scale, so there's no additional cost to you. However, if you do like the idea of having sort of a tertiary option, our partnership with Acronis allows for seamless integrations across multiple different basically backup scenarios, and that's essentially a license we can talk to our team about. But the native backup and disaster recovery comes at no additional cost to our end users.
Hits on that affordability piece again. So the last question that I have, Reed, that came in is, I'm very interested in the VDI solution. This person has, or this company has 325 users. Is that a good solution for that size company?
Absolutely. We basically have, that large range of products I showed you to accommodate basically the smallest footprints to the largest footprints. I think our smallest platform, that HC150 family line, will support up to 25 users, whereas the 5250 line and the 3250 line that we showed as well, I believe those will support up to 1,000 users, given the use case and what types of users are coming online there. But no, I would say we are a fantastic platform for VDI. And I would love to, talk with whoever that end user is to help discuss further options.
Fantastic. That is all the questions that came in the little chat box. So Chris and Reed, I'm going to kick it back to you guys for closing out.
Perfect. Reed, you or me first?
I'll go first. I just want to thank everyone for, giving us your time here. And if you have any questions about Scale Computing or any of our partner technologies, I'm more than happy to reach out and talk and converse with you. My contact information is here, but I can also be reached in other ways as well, and I'll go ahead and follow up with those after this call.
Great. And then, and again, this is Chris Reed now, and my contact information is also on the screen there, and as well, we'll be following up with via email with each of you who did attend today so you'll have our contact information there as well, and just see if you have any additional questions for us about what we've presented today. And then, as Dan indicated, we do have a couple of giveaways for those of you who attended today. We, again, appreciate your involvement today. So we've, while Reed was doing our presentation, I was using a randomized spreadsheet to select the 2 winners for our giveaway. So the first giveaway we have is for a $100 Amazon card, and that goes to Joe Dirting. And so we'll be in contact with you to get you that gift card. And then the second giveaway we have is for 8 hours of our professional services, our consulting engineering resources to work on really any kind of project or initiative that is appropriate for your organization. And the winner for that is Dan Nguyen from Sage. So again, both of you will be reaching out to you two specifically to get you the prizes that we've given out today. So again, I just want to thank everyone for attending, and really appreciate your time.